About that, we're joined by Sinan Ciddi, Senior Fellow on Turkey at the Foundation for the Defence of Democracies. Thank you very much for being with us, Sinan. And Erdogan has long complained, hasn't he, that the West is holding Turkey back from being self-sufficient in defence and other areas. Is this his way of making that happen?
Well, it sure looks like it. I mean, he's been intimating it, sort of pivoting away from the EU access, the European Union access for some time. And this is the most stark sort of intention to do so. I should be clear and say, look, he's not going to be the one that says, I'm terminating Turkey's application to the accession process for Europe. Why would he do that? He doesn't want to score an own goal. If the Europeans want to go ahead with that, that's fine. But he's basically saying, well, we'll keep that on ice or we'll keep pursuing it, but we're not going to stop sort of pursuing other interests. And what he means by that is edging closer towards joining a club of autocracies, which is the BRICS, and he's made this intention clear, and now is explicit. Turkey is going to file an application. I don't know what that looks like. It's not like an EU accession process, but it is a very stark realization that Turkey is pivoting away from its Western anchor. I never thought I would live to see this day.
And is that a position shared by most Turks? We remember, of course, that President Erdogan did win the election by quite a slim margin, after all.
Right. So I think it would be fair to say that a lot of Turkish citizens are very bitter towards the European Union for their sort of perception that the accession process to include Turkey as an EU member has been sort of badly handled. They think it's prejudicial. They think it's basically hamstrung. That's certainly understandable because it has been a long process. But on the other hand, I don't necessarily think at this point, given how bad the economy is, just how sort of, citizens are escaping the country and trying to enter sort of the developed world in an undocumented style, they would not be the first ones to, I think, volunteer that exiting all sort of avenues towards joining the EU one day is a good strategy. But they don't know any better. I mean, if you told them they're applying for the BRICS, which is, I don't think the average Turkish citizen would understand what that is. And I think if Turkey continues and really does engage this process, it is a process which is going to make the country immeasurably poorer. It's going to be less accountable than it already is to the rule of law, because there is nothing that requires BRICS members to uphold rule of law. You just have to look at the list of its members. And
Turkey, of course, remains a member of NATO. There have been tensions with other NATO members, of course. Could this prompt more of a serious backlash from those fellow member states?
It should do. I mean, it should. I mean, a lot of member states, as well as statesmen within NATO countries, are already concerned that Turkey is essentially sort of wayward. It's really surpassed a sort of many red lines in terms of what it takes to uphold the values of the NATO alliance. You and I recently discussed how Turkey's blocked NATO's cooperation with Israel. It previously did it with Cyprus. We've had discussions in the past week, according to Turkish sources, that the United States and Turkey are discussing how to bring Turkey back to the F-35 program, despite all this. But on top of that, today, we've just heard reports out of Turkey right now that U.S. Marines attached to the USS Wasp, an aircraft carrier group that's on shore leave in Turkey right now, were attacked and mobbed by locals who were shouting, essentially, Yankee, go home. And it's a stark realization, essentially, just how nasty and embittered Turks have become towards the West.
Sinan. We've got some pictures of that up on the screen right now, if we can bring those pictures back. There we are. This is a US Marine being attacked by a mob in Turkey. Is that right?
Correct, yeah. So the US Embassy confirmed this just a short while ago. This is a local group of extreme left-wing youth. They're essentially putting a sack over the head of the US Marine. Which is basically what the U.S. Marine, what Turkish servicemen were subjected to in 2003 when they illegally entered Iraq during the U.S. invasion and were essentially, bagged in the same way. And these soldiers were handed back to Turkey. So they're doing the same thing as a symbolic measure. But the actual sort of footage, if you had the full sound on, there's chants to really saying, berating the U.S. service members. And the U.S. Embassy calls this an attack.
And just before you go, Sinan, President Erdogan, of course, has tried to position himself as the champion of the Palestinians. He's embraced Hamas and so forth. But he recently met with the Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman. What is that relationship like?
Well, again, that is a relationship like many of other Erdogan's relationships in the region, which is very brittle. It's very sort of unpredictable. They do not trust him. He's also going to hopefully meet LCC, Egypt Sisi, next week sometime. This is all an attempt for Erdogan to sort of wedge himself into the sort of the after Gaza, the after war sort of scenarios in terms of how Turkey can possibly play a part. They want a piece of the pie in terms of reconstruction. Yes, he'd like to position himself as a champion of Palestinians, but he's, nobody's fooled by this. He is a champion of Hamas, and that's the bottom line.
Sinan Ciddi at the FDD, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.